Welcome everyone to our webinar today. Thank you for joining us. The webinar is the highlights of advanced manufacturing and engineering technology resources from ATE centers. Next slide, please. This is Jim Janessi. I have the privilege of being your moderator today. I'm with the University of Wisconsin-Stout, past principal investigator on several grants, and partnering with the Flate Center on leading the Mechatronics Community Exchange. Just so you're aware today, the webinar you'll be in listening mode, whether you're accessing through computer or phone. And if you have any particular questions, we ask that you submit those down in the lower chat window. We'll try to monitor those, and we have two Q&A sessions, one in the middle and one at the end. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can, but otherwise we will have be capturing the chat and follow up with you later if need be. And a reminder again that this webinar is being recorded. This will enable you to share a recording link with your colleagues. Next slide, please. The webinar is brought to you by CCTA, the Center's Collaborative for Technical Assistance. It's brought to you with additional support from the ATE Collaborative Impact Project. And as we go to the next slide, we're going to have Marilyn kind of tell you more about CCTA.
All right, thank you, Jim. So we didn't get a sound check, so I hope everyone can hear me. The CCTA is led by the centers you see on this slide. The CTC Center in Texas is the PI. The Skate Center in South Carolina, my own center, Flate, BioLink in California, and Maytech Networks. Next slide. So the purpose of the CCTA, the Collaborative Centers for Technical Assistance, was to specifically respond to a DOL request to the NSF ATE program to have the centers provide assistance to some of the TAC grantees. And you can see the kind of assistance they were looking for: coaching, in-person convenings, peer-to-peer learning, some best practices from our long history of working collaboratively with industry. Next slide, please. So, but really our activities are relevant for not just the Department of Labor grants, but also other NSF Foundation projects and centers, any groups that work collaboratively with industry, particularly workforce-oriented programs. Next slide. So what are we doing with this project? We're doing topical webinars like the one today. We're doing these monthly in this same time slot on Thursday afternoons. And presenting the existing and new solutions, providing the live and recorded resources, and they'll all be archived on the atecentral.net, which is a repository for NSF ATE materials. And other online media, including videos and transcripts, will also be available. I think there's more deliverables coming up. Next slide. There will be some regional discipline-specific conferences or convenings. We'll be producing some, and we've already produced a couple of best practice guides, and we'll also be hosting some of our own convenings, like the one we'll be hosting this summer at the High Tech Conference. It will be Friday after the conference. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Next slide.
It's back to me now, Marilyn, and Tim, if you can be ready to do the poll here. We really want to understand our audience today, and so we're asking you to look at the survey questions. Check first option if you're involved with an NSF grant. B, if you're involved with a TAC grant. If you're involved with both, probably qualifying for sainthood, check that box. And if neither applies, be sure to respond that way. And right now, we'll take a poll and understand our audience.
Okay, great. I'm going to close the poll in 5 seconds. Get your answers in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. What's interesting, you see it's kind of a
diverse group, heavily skewed somewhat towards 43% NSF, 25% TAC grants, and then 20% of you are Saints. And but hopefully, regardless of where you're affiliated there, you'll get some value out of today's webinar. Next slide. The overview of today is many of us have found ourselves trying to find resources for manufacturing education. The whole model of the NSF ATE centers really concentrates a wealth of best and emerging best practices, certainly skill alignments and curriculum. But really the focus then is to find, consolidate all the resources that support two-year technician development. What we're doing in today's format is you're going to learn quickly about 6 manufacturing centers. We're using kind of a fast-paced lightning round type of webinar, and that will allow you to have 6 to 8 minutes with each of these premier centers. On the next slide, we have our learning objectives for today, and that is to hopefully by the end of this webinar, next slide please, you'll really get to know how to access these manufacturing related centers. Beyond just the resources we've already discussed, we're hoping you'll also gain access to a variety of evidence-based research tools to help you really integrate them into your curricula. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Marilyn to introduce our presenters today.
Okay, thanks again, Jim. So again, a lightning round kind of webinar here, so we'll be quick and short, but giving some highlights from each of our centers. And the panelists today include Chris Frady from the CAVE Center, Beverly Hildebrand from CARCAM, Jeremy Lefferman from the 360 Center, Monica Farr from WellDad, and Karen Wazina Birch from the Regional Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. So next slide. So a little bit about the centers real quickly in backup, since there's a lot of ATE people. Hopefully you're familiar with these 2 resources about the ATE program, the ATE Centers Impact Book and the ATE 20 book. Both are downloadable on their websites. And we generally group classify our centers and even the projects according to these 8 different categories of advanced technology. And today we're just focusing on the top one, but I wanted to bring to your attention that there's a lot of great resources in other technology areas as well in the different ATE centers. Next. Just to put them on a map, here are the ATE manufacturing related centers with the circles around them. So this map's available on the ATE Central. The other bubbles on this map are projects that are manufacturing focused, and the centers work with many of the projects around the country in different capacities, sometimes mentoring, sometimes sharing and developing resources, but as a whole, this is the community, I would say, of the centers and the ATE manufacturing projects and centers. Next. And now we're going to move right into talking about FLATE and some of the resources we have at our center. Our mission is to be the leading resource for education and training expertise, leadership projects and services to promote and support the workforce and the high-performance production and manufacturing community in our state. We got this little byline from our NVC a few years ago, impact locally and lead nationally. Next. So as a regional center, we really focus on our state. It's complemented by a state Department of Education system for the CTE programs, both in high school and the community colleges and the 2-year colleges. And our big contribution to the program, to curriculum, this was development of an engineering technology umbrella degree that supports manufacturing. And as an umbrella, I say it has a lot of different specialization tracks. You'll see the career pathways that map here on the left, and the colleges that are now engaged in that in Florida right now that are offering this degree. So 19 of the 28 colleges and 19 of the 25 in the state that actually offer technical programs related to manufacturing. Next slide. I think the glue that holds us together is our great model for engineering technology, the Engineering Technology Forum. We've been meeting actually since '96, I believe, around the state. It's a great organization where we just share in a forum format new programs, new projects, issues with administrators, even though there's administrators there, issues with the higher-ups administrators. And it's a great model that we like to share. We have some documentation about the forum, how it's set up that you may be interested in. It's really engaging for the faculty, and it encourages them to work together across the state to build stronger programs in a lot of different, not just the technical parts, but the teaching and pedagogy, resources for recruiting, and all of those things that make a good program in the community colleges. Next. We also are the authors of a number of best practice guides. You'll see their front pictures here. They're all available on our website. From our many years of experience, we've salvaged the things that worked and collected them and documented them in these resource guides, which are available on our website as downloadable PDFs and flipbooks for anything from aligning curriculum to external standards to processes for reviewing curriculum to different outreach activities, professional development, robotics camps, industry tours, and the like. Next. And all of our outreach is housed under our Made in Florida umbrella. And for those resources, we have a separate website. It's madeinflorida.org, where there's, again, a lot of information for and downloadable resources for educators and also for industry who may be going out into schools in the community. We encourage this a lot, so we provided them with a lot of resources to help them do that, including videos and handouts and PowerPoints and those kinds of resources. Next. Probably the most comprehensive place to find stuff or links to stuff that products that FLATE has produced as resources is on our wiki. And on the wiki we've got a icon menu system here where you can find those lesson plans for K-12, resources for the community college programs, our Made in Florida video resources, tour resources, all of our presentations, publications, and meetings information is also reposted on this website on the section with the FLATER on it. PD and summer camps are with LCC here. Next. One of the things we've just started doing in the last 2 years is taking a good solid look at the curriculum alignment with different industry credentials. We've done this with the MSSC. We've finished the NIMS credentials and are now working on aligning our welding programs to AWS. These are standard by standard crosswalks, and then a summary of which credentials are attainable by different programs in the state at different levels, high school, our post-secondary programs, and also the 2-year degree programs in these different technical areas. So it's a great resource. We offer statewide articulations for industry credentials, and having an alignment of exactly how they fit together is kind of an important tool for the educators to use and validate the credits that they're giving. Next. And just a summary of our websites. And now I'm going to pass it over to Chris Frady from the CAVE Center. Next.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I am with the CAVE Center, and as our name shows, our focus is on automotive and aviation. But beyond that, we also focus in advanced manufacturing as well as engineering technologies, as you'll see from some of the resources. We are a center from Clemson University, and if you'll go to the next slide, please, you'll be able to see who some of our co-PIs on this center are as well. So we partner with 3 other technical colleges here in South Carolina, as well as the SCATE Center, which is another NSF ATE center. And you can see from the highlighted pieces there in our mission that our primary research focus is to do research-centered resources as well as creating digital learning tools to be used in technological education. Next slide, please. This is an image of one of our biggest initiatives. It's educateworkforce.com. So this will be one of the first resources that you'll want to make note of. On this site, we have over 10 courses. I want to say at last count it was around 15. And these courses align with some of the Manufacturing Standard Skills Council. It also aligns with some basic electricity, metrology. We have some soft skills materials up there, and the first 3 modules of every course are broadly and widely available, and they integrate all of the pieces that you see here, where we have brief video lectures, we integrate some virtual reality, we also do what we are calling open text, as well as having some iBooks, which I'll show you some images of later. The assessments we have are interactive, meaning the students get immediate feedback and they're placed throughout the system in a way that chunks the information for them. So this is a novel approach because what we've done is we've used a platform that was created by MIT that was called edX. If you're familiar with edX.org, it's a great place to go and get resources for post-secondary, particularly focusing on 4-year level education. So we took this platform that they make broadly available and rebuilt it for technological education. And so it follows through in a very self-guided way. Next slide, please. This next slide is going to give you a little bit of a view under the hood. So this slide you see in the top left-hand corner shows you what your course listings will look like if you enroll in different courses as a student. And then the other 2 images show you what it looks like when you're inside a course. When you have a brief video lecture, you'll notice it's closed caption. We've also done a lot of things to ensure that there's a lot of accessibility for students regardless of disability, whether that be a physical disability or whether that be a learning disability, or really to cater to a variety of learning styles. So we've used the Universal Design for Learning as we've designed a lot of this. And for those of you that are TACT grantees, we also are on 3 different rounds of TACT. And we do instructional design consulting, so I know you're familiar with the Universal Design for Learning from doing some of the curriculum that you have in part of that TACT. But we found that it was a best practice and have integrated it into all of the curriculum that we're now creating and sending out. Next slide, please. These are resources for instructors. So if you're an instructor and you want to apply this in the classroom, we can create for you a course. And you have inside the course your grade book. You also have different analytics, so you can see which videos are being watched, which assessments are being done, how successful are students with those assessments. You can do things like batch enrolling and unenrolling. So you have a lot of control over being able to see information about what your students are doing within this particular environment. Next slide, please. You just heard previously from Marilyn, and this is an initiative that our 2 centers collaborated on to create a course called Exploring Advanced Manufacturing, and it's a mini course. There are several modules in here that are great for career exploration, recruitment, and introductory course materials. This course is broadly and widely available to any and all who want to use it, and it's an introduction to advanced manufacturing and some of the different types of roles you can play as a technician in that particular environment. And you'll notice one of the items there in the lower right corner is an interactive EPUB. We've created a lot of iBooks and EPUBs that can be used on tablets and phones and multiple devices. They do not have to be used in just the Apple platform. So that's another really innovative and fun piece you can incorporate with your students. Next slide.
Rolling along smoothly, period.
This gives you an image of some of the virtual reality that we've incorporated into the environment. That's one of our primary focus. And you can see it kind of moves through the manufacturing floor environment, immerses students. We have hand tools, we have larger equipment, we have a scenario where they walk through and tag safety infractions. So a lot of materials are available to students to experience more authenticity in their learning. Next slide, please. This shows you the suite of ebooks and iPubs that we've created, or I should say iBooks and ePubs. The top row you see they're iBooks, and those of course are just within the Apple platform. The ePub, our first one, was the Exploring Advanced Manufacturing, and this fall we'll be releasing another ePub with the DOL VETS program that's focused on recruiting women veterans into advanced manufacturing fields and technology education fields, so we look forward to being able to share that. Next slide, please. Our last slide here is just a brief look at some other materials that we create that we're making available on our website. We're about to roll out our new website, so if you aren't able to get to it when you go and visit us today, please keep us in mind, and over the next month and as we come into the summer semester, our new website is being released by the university, and we will have some of these other recruitment and pathway initiatives, STEM type lessons that will be available as well on our website. And at this time, I'd like to hand over the conversation to Beverly at CarCam. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Chris. As she said, I'm Beverly Hildebrand, the Center Director and PI for CarCam, and our industry focus is on education for technical careers, in particular for automated manufacturing, and automotive careers is an excellent field of study and career opportunity. We partner with regional organizations such as these noted here on the slide, the Alabama Automotive Manufacturing Association, Alabama Technology Network, Alabama Industrial Development Training Authority, and the K-12 system, and of course many manufacturing industries. Next slide, please. Here are some of the best practice guides that we have available on our website, which is www.carcam.org. As well as these are available on the ATE Central website also. The first one on the left is a best practice for robotics and STEM camps. Each of our partner colleges host a summer camp for either teachers or counselors or middle school or high school students. This guide includes some tips and templates for hosting a successful camp. The other one we have noted here in the middle is a partnership with FLATE. We created a guide for our curriculum review processes. This outlines methods for vetting and standardizing curriculum. And then the third one here is a CGA, or Curriculum Gap Analysis Guide. This is a curriculum survey model that was designed to provide a method to gain feedback from industry on specific skills, knowledge, and ability, or SKA levels, that are required for adequate knowledge to perform the skills required for a multi-skill technician. Next slide. This shows our network of partner colleges here in Alabama. They're located, as you can see, throughout the state, and we have experienced faculty members at each one of these locations that are teaching courses in AC/DC, programmable logic controllers, robotics, industrial automation, etc. And you're welcome to utilize them as a resource, and their contact information is noted on our CarCam website. Next slide. As you can see, these are our goals. We have the goals of working with workforce development and STEM learning, highlighting career pathways for students, and stackable credentialing, and as well as professional development for incumbent workers and faculty members. We have numerous industry partners that we collaborate with to accomplish this, and each of our colleges work together within their regional industry areas to provide co-op and internship opportunities for our students. This usually requires a memorandum of agreement, or MOA, between the college and the industry that outlines the specifics of just what is expected from each entity. We have found that industry considers the co-op, apprenticeship, internship program an excellent workforce pipeline because the participants understand the basic concepts of the processes once they have actually seen what it's like in the workplace. The colleges value these programs because the students bring real-world knowledge to be shared in the classroom back to the faculty and their peers, and this really piques their interest. The students are obtaining jobs through these programs. Next slide. This outlines the AUT degree, or Automotive Manufacturing degree, for a multi-skilled or mechatronics technician. This includes specialization tracks so that the students can pursue the fields that they're most interested in. Next slide. These are the future technologies identified by the Alabama Department of Labor. Some statistics here. This shows CARCAM focuses primarily on automotive manufacturing, but as you can see, the higher priority is for some of the skill work in CNC, PLC, robotics, and these are some of the primary subjects that are required for a multi-skilled technician as well in automotive as well as many other manufacturing areas. And it does include, see, the 3D modeling, CAD and CAM. Next slide, please. Here's a website that is a product of our Department of Labor grant. We were involved, are involved in a multi-state manufacturing consortium, or MSAMC, and it's comprised of the work of 13 community colleges in 9 southeastern states as one of the TAC grants. And this website is really a great resource for online curriculum, problem-based objectives, regional labor statistics, additional other things. There is a video available also on the website for instructors with PBOs on integrated systems. This just has a lot to offer. I hope you'll make note of this website. Next slide. Back up one. Thank you. Next slide. All right. This is just an example of the detail that you can find on the one of the PBL tab on this website. This shows mecha practicums on specific topics such as mechanical drives, and you can see this is really outlined well. Next slide. Again, I hope you'll utilize our website for information and possibly begin to follow us on Twitter or Facebook. I thank you, and I want to go ahead and turn it over to Jim now.
Thanks, Beverly. At this point, we do have time for a couple questions. And first one we had was one for Marilyn. Is Flate still offering the toothpick factory? Can you explain that, Marilyn?
Sure. Anyway, the audio is a little broken up here for me. I hope everyone else is coming through clear, but I heard the toothpick factory and I knew that was for me. It's a hands-on simulation for kind of engaging students in small groups and with the teamwork skills. And the little teams make custom toothpicks, and there's some game cards like you would have in a board game. There's not actually a board, but they work on actually making some custom toothpicks for specific orders. Oh yes, yes, it's still available on that wiki site. You can go to that wiki site, and there's information there behind the icon that says Toothpick Factory.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. The other question we have time for before our next break is this the whole topic of recruiting. I got this question through email. A lot of good work goes into the centers and our manufacturing technician programs, but there's always the challenge of recruiting and how do you attract candidates to the manufacturing industry. And I guess that's a question I'll open up to either Chris or Beverly. What's your experience, or how do you offer resources to help people with recruiting?
This is Beverly. I'll jump in on that and say that we're involved with a lot of the regional career expos that take place here in the state. We have a lot of those going on in coordination with industries or with the workforce development regions. And a lot of times, you know, we'll focus on a particular age group, say 8th graders. Most recently, we had about 4,000 8th graders come through on a 2-day event, and they were shown all of the hands-on type options that were available through booth exhibits that gave them ideas as far as a lot of the opportunities out there for technical careers.
Okay, great.
I can add on to that too for some of the things that we're doing. I mentioned the toolkit that we're making that's going to be focused on women veterans. One of our COPI Spartanburg Community College does summer camps. We do professional development with educators to try to emphasize to them, to administrators, to guidance counselors, to high school teachers, and middle school even, the importance of advanced manufacturing as a component of an economic development plan in your region and community, so they really understand how to help advise students towards these 2-year degree programs and certificate programs that really can add benefit to their community We created a digital lesson plan that actually goes with the Exploring Advanced Manufacturing that we would be most happy to share with anybody who has an interest here, if you want to follow up on that. And then you saw there the career pathways map, kind of an image of that just to give some brief overview of things. And then, of course, doing some different career fairs and different conference types of activities with educators. And then we do have a research emphasis in looking at why are students choosing this information or choosing these pathways. We're working right now with all of the manufacturing students in North Carolina and looking at why did they enroll in advanced manufacturing course in high school for a certificate, hoping that will help us to understand more about recruitment into these programs. So stay tuned. We're happy to share those results once we publish those soon.
Thank you so much, Chris and Beverly. Great answers there, and hopefully as the audience can see, there's a lot of options and resources. We're about the halfway point, and we're doing well on time, but with that, we're going to shift gears and go to Jeremy then, and we will take questions again at the end, but it's all yours, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jim. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Leffelman. I'm the Director of 360 Manufacturing and Applied Engineering, ATE Regional Center of Excellence, located at Bemidji, Minnesota, or Bemidji State University in Bemidji, Minnesota, which is roughly an hour and a half from the Canadian border. Next slide, please. So a little bit about 360. We are an innovative education and industry collaboration to recruit, educate, and train workers for dynamic careers in advanced manufacturing. Obviously, as a regional center for ATE, we do service outside of Minnesota, but within Minnesota specifically right now, we have about 27,000 open jobs in areas like welding and machining and automation type careers. So we're really focused on filling the advanced manufacturing pipeline with qualified technicians. Next slide, please. Our center consists of 15 different Minnesota state colleges and universities institutions, which roughly is 42% of MnSTU. We've been in existence since 2006. We're both state and federally funded. We started with NSF in 2009 with what was known as the E-Tech project, and we became an NSF ATE regional center in 2012. As you can see on the graphic to the left, we have a pretty broad reach within the state of Minnesota. Next slide, please. So the first thing I wanted to share with you today is what's known as 360 E-Tech. You can see the link at the bottom of the screen. What this is our online and hands-on manufacturing education program. This services both adults as well as high school students. Through one of our TAC grants that we're a part of, there was actually a print reading simulation that can be used as a resource that has been implemented in some of our courses as well as sent statewide. So it's a pretty good resource, and you can certainly contact me directly if you'd like access to that. So the 360 E-Tech program is comprised of 4 different certificates. We have a production technology certificate, automation, machining, and then welding. And our production technology certificate is aligned with the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council CPT certification. Next slide, please. Another resource that is available upon request via the link below, we developed a combination of 26 online learning modules that really are about building teamwork, reliability, helping people to be more effective listeners, improve their verbal communication skills, things like that. These 26 modules are 100% free to use. If you click the link below, we will send out a unique link to you, and all that we ask is that you let us know how you're using them, and if you are part of education, manufacturing, things like that. And the purpose behind these is to really graduate a better qualified employee. Next slide, please. Through our Dream It, Do It Minnesota program, we have various resources available. One is known as an Adopt a School Guide. Many times manufacturers do not really have any idea how to get in contact with local schools, whether that's kindergarten through 12th grade. Obviously, that is the future pipeline of employees for these manufacturers. So what we developed through our Dream It Do It program is known as an Adopt a School Guide, which really gives advice and best practices on how manufacturers can best pair and partner with schools in their area. We've also developed what's known as a teacher's guide on manufacturing. This provides lessons, activities, as well as videos. Included within each of these teacher's guide is a DVD that highlights 26 different manufacturers within the state of Minnesota. It's a way to get people interested and kind of away from that perception of dark, dirty, and dingy environment. Then we also have a youth outreach toolkit, which has easy-to-use materials for both influencers as well as youth. And the last thing I'll touch on as far as Dream It Do It is what's known as our game app. This is available via iTunes as well as the Android store, I believe is what it's called. But this is a game app that's targeted to a middle school audience where kids can go in and help these Arbalaxians build various pieces of equipment. You know, what are their best manufacturing processes to get this certain product produced? So it's really a good educational game, and I encourage you to check that out. And more information on that can be found at dreamitdoitmn.com. Next slide, please. Finally, we have in development what's known as a manufacturing career tool. This is going to be an interactive career tool which will introduce youth to manufacturing careers. Based on some focus group data that we had collected, the focus group wanted to focus on a day in life of manufacturing. So whether that's the good, the bad, the stresses, the positive aspects of manufacturing, what really is manufacturing all about? So within this career tool which we're developing, we have company profiles, we've got videos, and we're also having kind of more of a fun quiz. It's nothing too technical or professional, so to speak, but it's more of a fun quiz to help align people to certain careers. So the ages of this career tool, we're looking at between 14 and 20 years old. So, but I would, if you'd like more information about this in the future, I can certainly provide that as well. That is all I have, and I'm passing the presentation to Monica Farr with WELD-ED.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good afternoon. My name is Monica Farr, and I'm with the National Center for Welding Education and Training, or WELD-ED. Next slide, please. You'll see here that WELD-ED's focus and our mission is really on increasing the quality and quantity of welding and materials joining technicians to meet industry demand. And we have several goals that we utilize to meet our mission. Next slide, please. WELD-ED is truly a partnership between industry and education. As you'll see here, the primary industry partner for WELD-ED is the American Welding Society. We also have 8 community colleges and 2 universities who serve as our regional centers. These 10 educational institutions are the individuals who are responsible for carrying out the goals and objectives of our center. In addition to that, we have an affiliate network of over 80 education and industry organizations that participate in our offerings, utilize our resources, and take advantage of the other programs that we offer. Next slide, please. WELD-ED has truly become the primary resource for employment projection and other workforce data in the welding industry. We really are the voice of data for the industry. As this chart depicts, these are 7 standard occupational codes in which welding is a primary skill. And WeldEd can gather information, or as you can see on this slide at the bottom right-hand corner, the kind of information that we can gather shows, for example, that there are over 400,000 positions that will be necessary to fill by the year 2025 in just these these 7 standard occupational codes. And we do collect data for other occupations in our industry, such as welding technicians, welding inspectors, and welding engineers. Next slide, please. WeldEd conducts an annual survey of 500 welding schools, and we collect both secondary and post-secondary, and we collect a host of information, including the number of students that are enrolled and completing welding programs. And you can see here we've been tracking data now for 6 years, and we're showing a pretty steady increase in not only the enrollment, but also in the completion rates of students both at the secondary and post-secondary levels. Next slide, please. Another goal of WeldEd is faculty professional development. We have 7 modules that you can see listed here that we offer for faculty in the welding field. We offer each of these modules during the summer. They're each a 1-week training, both some lecture as well as a lot of hands-on time. We offer these modules at our partner institutions around the country. The schedule and the registration link is available there at weld-ed.org. New this summer is module number 7, non-destructive testing. It's going to be offered at Chattanooga State Community College, so we're excited to offer yet another faculty professional development module. Next slide, please. In partnership with the American Welding Society, we are very focused on scholarships for students pursuing welding education. As you can see here, the American Welding Society last year awarded over $700,000 in scholarships to students at community colleges, at universities, students pursuing welding, welding technology, and welding engineering. So if you are at an institution that has a welding program, I would really recommend you share this information with your students. The online application is available at aws.org. Next slide, please. Student recruitment is another significant focus for our center. We have a host of resources that are available for free on our website, careersinwelding.com. We have print resources, we have DVDs, we even have the Ironman comic book. I encourage you, once again, if you have a welding program and are looking to recruit students, please go to the website. You can order whatever quantity you need, and we will ship those to you for free. Next slide, please. Also along the lines of student recruitment, we have a 53-foot mobile exhibit pictured in the top left corner there. This mobile welding trailer travels the nation on an 18-week annual tour. We've been on the road for 4 years, and we average about 25,000 visitors each year. We take the trailer to very large events, state fairs, Skills USA National Convention, the FFA National Conference, a lot of farm shows and ag shows. And we really focus on trying to educate the general public about the exciting and highly technical careers that are available within the welding industry. There's 5 virtual reality welding simulators on board, as well as a lot of other hands-on exhibits. As you can see there, if you want to view the tour schedule for this year, you can see that at explorewelding.com. Let me just say that we do need volunteers to help us staff the exhibit at all of the shows that we attend. We have a lot of high school students, high school faculty, community college students and faculty who always volunteer, and they make excellent volunteers. You are welcome to share information about your welding program because we want to show local programs when we're out at all of these events. So once again, explorewelding.com if you're interested in where we're going to be or in helping us out at one of our upcoming events.
And we're still confirming some technical things. If Karen is not able to join at this moment, Marilyn will do the introduction, and hopefully Karen will join in. At this point, Marilyn, if you can go ahead, that'd be great.
Okay, all right, next. So Karen comes on, I'll be glad to turn it over to her. We're having trouble getting her connected right now. So the Regional Center for Next Generation Manufacturing has 4 goals. They are centered in Connecticut, but they serve the New England states for manufacturing education in the community colleges. Their first goal might sound like we're starting to sound like a little broken record. We have student recruitment and persistence. The next goal, professional development. Goal 3, the curriculum development. And last but not least, dissemination and regional collaboration amongst its partners. Next, please. So, well, who are we, or who is the Next Generation Center? You'll see that it's the whole K-12, K-20 arena. There's a middle school segment with the comprehensive high schools, their inner-city school after-school programs, and at the secondary level, they have 17 technical high schools, and also work with the comprehensive high schools. That's a term we don't use in Florida, but I guess that's a regular high school for us. And then and provide them with career and tech education pathways into manufacturing. Though the seamless pathways include a variety of stackable credentials, they work with all of these secondary programs, work directly with the College of Technology Partners, which is a coordinated group through the state system of the 12 community colleges that offer technology-focused programs. They're kind of regrouped as the COT. They also work with the 8 of the 4-year universities in the Northeast, and have regional collaborations with some recognizable New England states: Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont. Next slide, please.
Has Karen been able to join you?
I don't hear her. They were trying to open her
Okay,
up,
Brenda.
but it didn't work. Okay, so in the recruitment area, they've developed 2 really powerful recruitment tools. One is their Manufacturing Your Future. They're now in their 2nd edition of this. It's a nice DVD about manufacturing in the Northeast, along with a companion workbook for teachers, career coaches, guidance counselors, and even industry can use these to promote manufacturing careers when they go out into the community and into schools. And the second one, much more focused on recruiting women. This is probably a topic we all struggle with, recruiting, but the similar idea of the package. There's a nice DVD focused on women working in the manufacturing field, along with a companion workbook with lesson plans and recruitment materials and exercises for teachers to use with their students and with other educators to make them more aware of what they can do to encourage girls and young women into manufacturing pathways, as well as you know, what the obstacles are, what keeps them or shies them away from these types of career paths. Right, next slide. One of the things that the Regional Center has done, the Next Generation Center has done really quite a lot of and honed is student expos and symposiums. They have a couple of models. This first one is a model where they recreate a factory floor in a number of different stops along a one-way path where that the students flow through, and the pathway is the whole manufacturing cycle, and they actually make something during this expo. So they started with a design pod, as they call them, and end up with a couple of processes and come out with some little doodad at the end. I'm sure that changes can see the different stops that they might have. So it's kind of a unique approach to an expo. Industry comes in and sets up those pods and delivers the message about manufacturing careers to those students that come through from the high schools and I guess probably middle schools there. So there's some more details on this slide, but I don't want to muck it up too much, so I'll stop there. But it is a great approach. I've actually been to one or two of those events, and they're quite exciting, high energy for the kids going through there. They love seeing things being made. And the second model is a little bit more of a symposium model that actually happens not in an expo location, but in at a host community college, so that brings the secondary students right to the college, which is always a good opportunity to get them hooked on our programs. So they do, in this particular, the manufacturing process format is the first one, and this is a sequential presentations of how a product is made, which is similar to that expo in a different venue. It's surrounded by company exhibits and demonstrations. They'll do a tour of the college laboratories for manufacturing, and as defined here, is a kind of structured and scheduled event. The next alternative format is 40-minute workshop presentations. Oops, back there, thank you. 40-minute workshop presentations that are concurrently, sort of like a conference. Company exhibits and demonstrations also. So this is much more like a conference that we educators, administrators might attend, and then some general sessions where everyone meets together for talks and discussion. Next. Okay, so on the professional development under that goal 2, they do some unique things at the Next Generation Center. They have a great program for faculty industry externships every summer, where the faculty can go for 4 weeks into a company. They're paid a stipend. They're paid half of it in the summer, and then the other half of the stipend when they develop a curriculum piece that aligns to the work they did at their externship. I know they've done this for, gosh, ever since they started the center when it was first funded, and have a great wealth of resources that have been developed from the teachers that participated, besides having the teachers have that hands-on experience right in a manufacturing facility. Totally different for a lot of educators that come out of school and go out of college and go right into teaching. They offer a best practice guide. The center has a best practice guide on their website. You can access that for this type of externship program. Next. Another activity that they do for professional development is their counselor workshops. They do these at community colleges again. Talk a lot about what the careers are, provide the DVDs and that kind of thing, very specifically for counselors and career guidance professionals. Next. And a little bit of other resources. A little bit on the outreach side. They do a teacher's 1-week dissemination workshop every summer. In the past, this was even held at the Coast Guard Academy. Additional workshops, scanning down to the bold number 2, are with some of their partners, College of Central Maine, for example, where they have an excellent machining program, and they partner to help provide that professional development with those with other opportunities in New England. And again, in the outreach area, they've took on maybe the first center that took on all by themselves, putting on a maker fair last October, and they'll be doing that again this October. It was quite successful with a lot of attendees and a lot of students. A lot of information about careers and jobs was available there, as well as the education programs at the different community colleges in Connecticut. Right, next. I think this is back to Jim.
Yes, thank you, Marilyn, and of course thank you, Karen, for putting all that good information together. We're going to try to get you out here on the hour here, so there was a couple questions we'll follow up with later relative to Creative Commons and so forth. We want to give Marilyn the last 5 minutes here to kind of share some upcoming events, share all the contact information for your presenters, and we'll come back for a very quick survey. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Marilyn.
All right, thanks, Jim. I'm glad you're watching the time. I wasn't doing it so much. Next. So as I said earlier, we do the CCTA grant project is providing webinars once a month. At this particular time, I think the N is cut off there, Eastern, looks like Easter, but it's 3 p.m. Eastern time on usually the third Thursday of the month. The next one on May 25th is Meeting Requirements Exceeding Expectations, Understanding the Role of Evaluation in Federal Grants. Important topic. Lori Wingate from the Evaluate Center will be presenting next month. So I hope many of you will join us then. And of course, hopefully you all know about HITECH, but if you don't, this is a great conference that the centers produce every year. This summer it will be in Pittsburgh with our host, the Community College of Allegheny County, July 25th to 28th, and check it out on our website if you aren't registered already. Next. In conjunction with the HITECH on the Friday following HITECH, HITECH is Monday through Thursday, and that Friday, last year we held a convening for the TAC to provide more technical assistance there. We'll be doing that again this year, so that's Friday, July 29th. It requires a separate registration. You'll see the link on this slide. It's on the HITECH website, but there's no charge for this particular convening for the CCTA, for the HITECH, for the TAC grants. Of course, it's good for all grantees, all people who are working in consortium industry education kind of consortiums for workforce. So I encourage anyone planning on attending HITECH to also enroll in this convening on Friday. Next. So a quick slide to aggregate all of our contact information. You can check out later on the recorded slides. Next. And here we are at the webinar summary, so I think we're right just about on time. I'd like to thank my co-presenters today, since I have like 1 minute to do that, and letting me beat on them continuously about time for 6 of us to present on one webinar. So thanks to Jeremy, Chris, Beverly, let's see, I already missed somebody, Karen, for pulling together a great presentation. And with that, please take a moment to help us improve the CCTA webinar series, and by answering the questions on this webinar survey that is going to pop up momentarily, I believe. And thank you, Jim, for hosting us, monitoring.